Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Jean-Philippe. My name is Konstantin. I have a background as computer vision guys and artificial intelligence, but from few years when I met Jean-Philippe Mohamed, I start to be interested in virtual reality, joined SSVAR, and not surprisingly also interested from the Metaverse, or what I prefer to use as term is the virtual world. I will talk here about the pets in the Metaverse, which are intelligent creatures actually, and we have this project with Jean-Philippe and another guy from SSVAR called Gregory from already more than 1 year. But first, what actually is the Metaverse? And the short response is we don't know really, but we can compare with the well-known technology like cars. So if you look here, on an old mobile in 1901, we can see something very interesting. People those days don't know how the cars should look like actually, and what they take is simply chariot. They put on this chariot an engine, they put a steering wheel, and they say this is a car. And so what they use actually is what they know from the real world, or their real world, and they build something they see, they think it is a new. Now they see how a car looks like in 2022. That means 121 years later, and you can see that it's quite different actually. But these cars still have these same important elements, some important elements like engine, like steering wheel, like wheels, and so. Here on the right, we can see one example of a metaverse or virtual world. It's called Cynespace. And we can see something amazing. Actually, we don't know how the metaverse should look like, but we simply take the real world, the real life, and copy this real life in the metaverse and say this is a metaverse. So I believe nobody can imagine how the metaverse will look like after 121 years, exactly like people in 1901 could not imagine how the car would look like. But we can still extract some important features. We believe that will be still present after 100 years. And these features, I believe, are listed below. First, the metaverse is in a 3D. Second, they have in the metaverse we have avatars, and what an avatar is? The avatar is simply a representation of the user, which is perfectly monitored command by the user. The avatar has his free will, how to say. And what is interesting also that here in this picture you have actually two avatars. But so that means simply that we expect that this metaverse is a kind of social media, and the avatars will communicate in between. In general case, we are talking for a massive multiplayer game. That means we have a lot of people which are on the same place and interact each other. Just for example, currently the stress test in Cynespace shows that we can have more than 500 persons on the same place. Another interesting feature of the metaverse that we have furniture. That means something which is like a hardware. And finally, we have intelligent agents. Here is the small dog here, which are more or less autonomous. They can move on his own, and we call often them also non-player characters because they are not representation of the real users. Let's go next. here is another way to distinguish between avatars and non-player characters. This is about the interactivity versus autonomy. In a very well-known case of the Super Mario, on the left, Super Mario is perfectly interactive and do what the user told him to do. This, we can say, this is kind of avatar. And on the right place are the demons from Doom, which do on his own and are perfectly uncontrollable from the user. Those are non-player characters. Our dog, however, in CineSpace, Wolfie, is something between them because he can do on his own. He can move around, avoiding obstacles, for example. But we can also send him some commands, for example, sit down or go with me, like exactly you can tell to the real dog. That's okay, but the question is how we can build such a kind of artificial intelligence, and there are a lot of suggestions in the literature. I have tested few of them, and surprisingly, I found the best way to do with something I used to build robots a few years ago, which is called substation architecture. It was invented by Brooks in 1986. And here on the right, we see a very famous robot of the Sony, dog robot of the Sony called Aibu, built with this substation architecture. There are more than 10,000 dogs sold on the world. So the idea of this substation structure actually is all about how the different behavior interacts each other and restructure each other. You can see this here on this graph. The different behaviors are structured on levels, and on the lower levels, we have the motors, which in our case with the virtual pets actually are replaced by animations, and also the sensors. Sensors are how the bot sense the world. So the information from the sensors go to the different level of the behaviors. And what is interesting is that these behaviors run, let's say, independently if each of other, probably on different processors, and can interact each other only by the outputs. They can block the influence of the upper level of the behaviors, can block the influence of the lower level of behaviors on the actuators. So just to give you an example, in the first level here for our bots or for our pets, we have behaviors like avoiding obstacles, go to an object, go to a ball. Second level is, for example, play with your owner, or go along with your owner, or something like that. Advantages of this substation architecture is that is the simplicity, firstly, because for developers like me, it's very important that I can build clean and robust code easily. Second is kind of Lego structure. We can add behaviors like Lego blocks, and we can do this like as much as the hardware give the possibility. But since this is a parallel computing, actually, we can do really a lot of we can put together a lot of different behavior working simultaneously and independently together. This parallel computing is particularly interesting in the metaverse because by definition in the metaverse we have different type of computers running. For example, you have a server side, you have also a client side. Clients could be the owner of the pet, or could be just other users. We can however, interact with the pet. So all these behaviors can run on different computers and then have to interact together in real time, having in mind also the latency of the net. So the robustness of this structure is really very important. And finally, what is very interesting that each behavior inside these blocks is independent and could be built and rebuilt. Nothing will change in the program unless we keep the same input and outputs. And this means also that we can incorporate in the same time hard-coded and learning behaviors. And this is exactly like the real life works. In the real life, we have some hard-coded behaviors, like, for example, when the animal is hungry, he will search for feed. But also we have such some learning behaviors, like playing with the ball or something like that. So now, the question is, actually, we stop here with the technical points, technical questions, because it's become a little boring, and we'll go to more interesting and amazing stuff. It's why actually we get a pet, why actually we should get a pet in the virtual world. And to answer this question is why we get a pet in the real life. And the response is very simple, because this pet makes us happy. Because this pet is amusing, it's funny, and is lovely. And the same reasons have to be true also in the virtual world. So, but to do this, the pet have to be actually to have some intelligence, probably not higher intelligence than ours, but have to be intelligent enough to make us fun. And okay, here is another interesting question. Since the pets are so lovely and we love them, the question is, should we have to protect our virtual world pets? And in the real life, actually, there are no Animal Welfare Act, which is introduced in the USA in 1966, but now is world spread. And according to this act, the animals, particularly domestic animals and animals living in captivity or in the shops, are protected, and we protect their welfare and dignity. And the question is why? And the reason is simple. It's not because of the pet of the animals itself. It's because we love these animals and we don't want they are harmed. If we harm those animals, it's like we harm us ourselves. This is one reason. And the second reason is because actually we understand now that animals are intelligent, and it is not good to harm intelligence. And exactly the same reason actually is for the virtual world pets. If those pets are lovely, we love them, we like them, and we don't want they will be harmed. And also we have to recognize that they are intelligent. So we don't want to destroy intelligence. But of course, the way we can harm a real animal and the virtual animal is different. We cannot type any virtual animal. At least we explicitly program this behavior. But what we can do is to protect our animals for erasing, for example, or resetting. And you see that here actually is not really the same kind of protection like with the real life animals, but it's mostly like protecting a property. And this is not impossible, because simply the virtual world where we are evolving can cancel your account, for example, because you didn't pay the monthly fee, or go to or for example to change the user conditions, or to sell the business to another company, and this can simply make you lost your lovely pets. So to deal with this problem, we have one issue, which is the ownership issue. And the ownership issue means that you should be able to import your pets or assets from to any virtual world. This is actually currently not possible. There are more than 100 virtual worlds, but all this stuff are quite closed, only property of different companies, and they have a same condition. It is not really possible to move assets in between. It's not just a question of the file format, actually. There are file formats which are common, for example, object or BAHIC, but it's mostly like a programming, because the behavior of the pet is kind of artificial intelligence, which is programmed, and also it is also question of the data, because the learning behavior is saved like data in the pet. So one solution of this is to use the so-called NFT, which was very popular last years. And basically NFT is a program. It's called a smart contract, and in this program we can save data, and also we can save code. We can write code inside. But there are a huge problem is that the very, very low efficiency of the currently used NFT, and the result of that is fundamental, actually, because most of the, or not most, but nearly all of the currently mined NFT are based on blockchain technology. And the blockchain technology, like the name means, is a chain. That means that all producing blocks have to be attached to the previous blocks. So it's a sequential process. And here on the left, you can see a picture which I borrow from iota.org. And here is a short explanation of what happened in blockchain. In the blockchain, we have a user which can which want to mine the NFT. You have a kind of miners which will mine, or that means they will compute complicated algorithms in order to have a consensus to write NFT, to write, sorry, a block. And this is a very inefficient process by the simple reasons that only the best or the faster computational miner, the most powerful computational miner, will be able to mine NFT. All others will be simply a waste. That's incredible waste of the computational power and energy, but also is very, very slow process. And also is very expensive because of this waste of the technology, the energy, but also because you have to pay the miners. And one possibility is to use IOTA, which actually is cryptocurrency, which is not based on the blockchain technology. And in a difference to the blockchain technology, you have no miners. That means users are connected directly to the nodes, and they're not one chain, but all nodes is connected to few others. And that means that all this computation is doing in parallel. That means at the same time is very efficient, energy efficient, and very fast, but also is very cheap because you don't pay miners. And in reality, actually, people which are inventing this claim that is free. I'm not a cryptocurrency expert, and I am not here advocating using IOTA, But just for me, the situation with the cryptocurrency is NFT, and NFT nowadays is like the dot-com bubble in the years 2000, where people understand that there's something useful in the dot-com, but didn't really know what. And when the bubble burst, there was a few years need to find really let's say, valuable business like Google, like Facebook, which make really sense, and they make really money. Okay, this is about this problem, but it's not the only problem. Actually, there are a lot of problems with the virtual pets in the metaverse. I will here talk only about two. The second I will talk is what I call Lili Dimkova issue. Lili Dimkova is a very famous Bulgarian painter. Here you can see a painting for her. And one day, she also loved dogs, and she always had dogs, and also go to feed some herring dogs in Sofia, Bulgaria. But one day she was 8 years old, and she told to my mother, because her dog died, she told she will not take another dog because the dog can outlive her. And what will happen with this dog if she died before the dog? Well, so in the metaverse, your dog will never die. I mean, your pet will never die in the metaverse. Particularly, it is protected by laws and by NFTs. Actually, quite interestingly, when you write NFT, this NFT is connected to your password, but if you by some reason you lost your password, you lost everything. There are no way to recover your NFT. And since most of the cryptocurrency are deflationary, that means there are only limit number of coins which can be mined, like in the Bitcoin, for example, there are 21 million only which can be mined. And since people can always forget the password, we can actually, from mathematical point of view, say that in the finite number of years, all Bitcoin will be lost because people will lost his password. So the idea that pet will never die, first actually I used a selling argument because everybody know what happened when our real life pet died. We are so sad, feel so bad that I say, okay, your virtual world pet will never die. Take it, use it. But here actually you understand that the problem is just that what will happen with this pet after you. And we can also talk to digital heritage. But of course, if you forget your password, this pet and this NFT will stay in the virtual space forever. And slowly but steadily, the virtual space will be full of such kind of objects. Okay, I will stop here. I just want to say that in the metaverse, we have much more open questions than responses. But I believe that in the future, slowly we can arrive to do a valuable business inside. Thank you.
Thank you, Konstantin. To be, I have a confidence to say something secret. The day you told me that you gave me your title, you remember, I laughed because I didn't understand how it's possible that you can make some slide, explain something like this. for me it was, and now I understand. So sorry, Konstantin, to have laugh.
Okay.
And yeah, we will talk after.